a friend of mine that is joining the show right now, and it is Mitzi, drummer, breast cancer survivor. How are you doing, Mitzi?
Hey, I'm great.
So good to see you. Girl, thanks for being here, man. I told her on break, guys, I was like, I'm sorry, dude, I'm amped up. I've had a lot of caffeine. I'm showing everybody the caffeine right now, so I'm totally amped up. Forgive me. I'll try not to step on you too much tonight. But I'm so glad you could be here this evening and talk to us about your journey through breast cancer. First of all, I just thought we would talk about the fact that we met at a drumathon. You think it was probably like 2016, 2017, right?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And did you just happen upon drumathon, or did you hear about it somewhere?
I probably did some weird search like drums and breast cancer and it just popped up. I don't know.
Well, cool. That's a great way to be found, because that's what we're all about, is, fighting breast cancer and drumming, of course. But many years before we met, you were somehow attracted to drumming. How long ago was it that you were like, hey man, I dig drums and this is what I want to do?
I was in 6th grade and just started in beginner band. And it was just one of those things I knew that's what I was supposed to do. I just knew in my heart I was supposed to be a drummer. That was about 40 years ago, so you can do the math.
I don't want to do math, though, baby. So about how old were you? You said you were in school and you took percussion in school. The earliest opportunity that I could think of that I could have been in percussion would have been 6th grade, so it's probably about 11. Is that about right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And then I started playing set when I was a freshman, 3 years later, and played through college and played in a gospel group and a country group, just different stuff.
That's cool. So tell us about that first drum set. I'm thinking there's probably going to be a lot of drummers watching the show tonight, because there's 3 drummers on the show this evening. Myself and you, Dan Schinder, will be joining a little later. So I'm sure that there's some drummers out there who would love to geek out and hear what your first kit was.
It was a white Ludwig 5-piece, and my mom and dad had missed my band concert, and I was really upset. And I came home and the drum set was set up for me, ready to go, and that was why they missed my band concert.
Are you serious that they were planning that surprise for you and that's why they missed?
They were, and I played that set every night, starting right after supper until about 10 o'clock, when Dad would say, okay, that's enough, cut it off.
He's like, no more. Man, that's some great parents, because I'm sure that you've had the same conversations that I have had with many women who said, I always wanted to play drums, but my parents wouldn't let me. And here we are, fortunate and blessed to have had parents that were like, go for it. And both of our parents bought our first drum kits, and a Ludwig kit. That's a great first kit too. That's amazing.
You had the same experience. I love that.
Yeah.
Dad were very supportive.
That's so cool. And so how old were you? You were 11 when you started playing drums, but how old were you when you got that drum set?
14.
Nice. That's awesome. That's perfect rock and roll age. If you're saying, about 40 years ago, that's probably the 80s. Rock and roll was really happening, and great time to have a drum set. What was your first experience with like playing in a band? How old were you?
Well, I played in the Christian rock band in college, so I was probably 18, 19.
Very cool. I actually was in a praise and worship band, and that music is so much fun to play. So that's a really great start. And you've been gigging ever since then, or?
Pretty much, yeah. I stopped for a few years, took a break, but yeah, I've been playing in different bands since then.
That's very cool. Very cool. It's just cool to have another female drummer on the show. We're few and far between, but in our group, the Survivors Rock a Breast Cancer Can Stick It community, we actually have several female drummers and breast cancer survivors in that group, which has been really cool. I mean, we have like, if you include Randy, he's obviously well, I guess not obviously. I know some Randys who are women, but Randy is our lone male breast cancer survivor in Survivors Rock, a breast cancer contingent community, and he's also a drummer. But we have 4 or 5, maybe 6 more breast cancer survivor drummers in our groups. So cool to have a sisterhood like that, such a rare sisterhood. So speaking of breast cancer, tell us when all that started. How long ago was it that you were diagnosed, and what led you to your diagnosis?
Well, I usually went for my yearly in August and never had any issues. And before my regular appointment, I'd gone in May. I felt a little bit of pain, and everybody kind of mentioned, well, you're not going to feel pain if you have breast cancer. But it was kind of like a tingle, and they didn't find anything. And I almost skipped my regular appointment in August. And I'm so thankful I went because that's when they found it, was at my regular appointment in August. And it was small. It was 7/10 of a centimeter, but it was very aggressive. And so that's what started my journey.
Wow. So this was just your regular annual mammogram?
It was, yeah. I had gone a few months before because I thought something was wrong, and they didn't see it then. And it grew to that size over about 3 months.
Wow, that's very scary, but I think it just speaks to the whole point that, is very popular to make, is early detection is so important, and those annual exams are so important. Many of the women that we have here on the beat found the breast cancer themselves, either through a self-exam or through themselves scheduling their annual appointments and being proactive in their health. And so that just really speaks volumes to that. So you mentioned that the breast cancer that was found was aggressive. What made it aggressive? Was it like a high grade? Was it triple negative, inflammatory? What were the components that made it aggressive, or do you know?
It was progesterone positive, estrogen positive, HER negative, but on the Nottingham scale, it was a 3. And so all of those levels of the Nottingham scale pointed to that it was aggressive. So I had a lumpectomy, 4 chemo treatments, and then 33 radiation.
Wow. It's funny because oftentimes when we talk about going through breast cancer, because that's exactly how I say it too, is it's, I had my surgery, I had, 4 months of chemo, and I was done. But it's the details in that are so crazy that so many people aren't familiar with, and what kind of side effects and things like that. So you had a lumpectomy?
I did. And that went very smoothly. I really didn't have much pain afterward. And then I had 4 chemo treatments. And I think the scariest thing for me out of pride was losing my hair because I had hoped that I wasn't going to. But it not only grew back, but it grew back thicker, and it didn't take long.
Isn't that crazy? And it's so different for everyone. It's like, some people will start out with thick hair, and then after chemo and they have their hair grow back in, it'll be thin. Or they'll start out with straight hair, and then they'll have chemo, and then they'll come back curly. It's just like, it's always like a weird change somehow. It's kind of freaky how that happens. You said that you only had 4 rounds of chemo?
I did. I had originally been diagnosed in Tyler, and they had recommended more chemo, but I ended up in Dallas at Baylor, and they lowered it to just 4, and I was thrilled.
I'll bet so. Yeah. And was that Baylor Salmons Cancer Center in downtown Dallas?
Yes, it was. Uh-huh.
And for those watching, that's the exact center that we donate to each year. That's very
Ah,
cool. Yeah, that's the
yeah.
center that we support for their research and trials at Baylor Samuels Cancer Center. So that's super cool to come full circle on that. So you had the 4 rounds of chemo, and then you had 33 radiation treatments. My gosh.
I did. It was every weekday for right at, I guess, 7 weeks. And I was a teacher at the time. And so my conference period would start about an hour. It was at the end of the day. It would start about an hour before my treatment. So I would drive from Wills Point to downtown Dallas, do my treatment, come home. And I had an amazing boss and amazing coworkers, and it just was seamless.
Wow, every day. Dang. So, what were the side effects that you had from radiation?
I'll be completely honest. I had zero side effects from radiation, like nothing. Not even. Maybe the worst thing might have been just a slight burn on my skin, but it wasn't bad at all, and it went away. Um, they say it makes some people, it makes them tired. Um, I I think just teaching was making me tired.
Well, that's the thing when like when you go through treatments like that, and even if it was just like any aspect of going through breast cancer, it's mentally exhausting. It just takes so much out of you. A lot of people may not realize it, but throughout the whole time of your treatment, you're constantly getting poked and prodded, and checking numbers and waiting for test results and all kinds of things from the moment you're diagnosed until the moment you finish treatment. So there's a lot of stress during that time, both physically and mentally. And so, yeah, you're certainly tired. That's amazing that you really didn't have any side effects from that much radiation that frequently. I've had several people on the show who've spoken about, significant burns and talked about special lotions and creams that they had to use to help their skin from the burns. And so that's a great blessing. So how long was the entire process from the moment you were diagnosed until the moment you finished all of your treatment?
I was diagnosed the second week of September, and I finished up, I believe it was the first week of April. So 8 months total.
Yeah, that's a long bout. The thing, I wonder if you'll agree with me on this, is while going through breast cancer is obviously very trying and traumatic and tough and challenging, when you kind of look back on it, it's sort of a blip. It's not. Yeah, so I think it's important to point that out, because once you finish your treatments, if all goes well, obviously, then it's in your rearview mirror, at least as best as you can. We always have those thoughts floating around, oh, I've got this pain. Is it some kind of cancer problem again, or whatnot? Are you still going in to see your oncologist on a regular basis, or have you been set free?
November was my last 6 month. So I'm at the 5 year survival point. So I don't have to go back for a year now. So it's a once a year thing, and let me tell you, that was a weight off my shoulders, because you do think about it the whole time.
Yeah, you do. The 5 year point is a big milestone for breast cancer survivors. Just to point it out, with triple negative, and this is from Dr. O'Shaughnessy, not from me, but with triple negative, she says that the 8 year mark is the mark for triple negative. So I was really glad when I hit the 8 year mark. So I'm glad that you've hit your mark too. And Mitzi, I'm going to pause for a second. We got a lot of activity happening in our little chats here, so I got to give some shout outs. Mert is in the house. Layla is here. Thank you guys for being here. Melissa is here. Michelle says, "Way to go, Mitzi! I'm so proud of you." Sue Bogan is in the house. What is up, Sue? Thanks for being here. Stacy's here. Sarah Corpus Christi in the house is here. Dan is in the house. What is up? Mert says Peter Chris is a breast cancer survivor and men can also be stricken with it too. Yes. In fact, in our Survivors Rock, a breast cancer community group on Facebook, we have our male breast cancer survivor, Randy, and he often joins to watch these broadcasts too, so I'm sure he'll pop in at some point this evening. Jeff is in the house. And Chris is here. My gosh, Chris says, Mitzi, Chris Pruitt is calling out your name, girl. Let's see here. Jimmy Hall is in the house. That's awesome. And our social media team says, that's great. Congratulations, Mitzi, 5 years cancer-free. Woohoo. So that is awesome. So tell me, Mitzi, you know, we're both drummers. So, you know, you've been drumming for a very long time. How did all of this going through breast cancer affect your drumming?
To be very honest, the whole breast cancer experience completely changed my life. It made me very much want to do everything I can possibly do and play as much as I can. It made me tell everybody I love them every single time before I get off the phone. I probably drive them crazy. And, you know, it really changed my life. And I just enjoy it so much more now. I really do. I enjoy being able to do that.
Yeah, I totally get that, man. I am with you too. It changes your life's perspective easily. And that's so true. Telling people you love them, like I'm always like, I love you, I love you. Be careful, be careful. I love you, I love you. Be careful, I love you. Be careful. It's like, okay, you know. But I think that's a commonality among a lot of breast cancer survivors. That is a great positive takeaway. Is it does make you kind of embrace life more. Definitely changes your perspective, and you know that, you know, any day could be your last, and so you just kind of grab hold of that day and those people around you, and make sure that you're always telling them exactly how you feel about them. It looks like Mert has a little note here. He says, my friend Angie Mae Kelly, had a very nasty cancer. Hopefully she will come in and talk. Would love that, Mert. Please have Angela get in touch with us for sure. Dina McCutcheon, great volunteer in the house right now. Dina's an old friend of mine. Great to have her here. So it didn't affect like your playing as a drummer when you were going through breast cancer. Did you still go ahead and play gigs at that time? Did you rehearse? Did you take a break from all of it?
The only break I took, I took a break from a couple of gigs, and one was really disappointing. We were supposed to play at the pre-show out in the American Airlines Plaza before the Stars game, and I had to miss that.
Oh no! Yeah. Oh gosh.
I thought of all the things.
I know. Yeah. There's only one thing in life that could be more important, and it was happening, right? Wow.
Chemo, and other than that, I kept playing. I wore my wig. I had curly hair for a while, like you were talking about, short curly hair, and you know, just went on about life and enjoyed it.
That's awesome. What band was that had that gig out in the plaza there before the Stars game?
The Chuck D. Rogers band. I was with them for 8 years, and we just had a lot of fun. Yeah, country band. That's
super cool. You've played such an amazing like variety of music, just country and rock and gospel and, you know, everything. Is there a favorite that you have?
Well, I like country, but now that I'm living in Louisiana, I'm learning how to play Cajun Zydeco music. That's totally new because I can't understand a word they're saying because they sing it in French, but it's fun.
It's like maybe you should like get them to transcribe that for you, or you know, translate that for you just in case. You have no idea what they're saying. Our drummer is really hot. She's super cool. Everybody ask our drummer out. Woohoo! And you're like, I have no idea. You're just back there smiling. That's awesome. How cool is that to be able to play so many different styles? And you mentioned earlier, just to step back again, is you were taking percussion in school, but did you take private lessons when you learned how to play on a drum set, or were you self-taught?
Not really. I had a an older guy in high school. His name is Will Green. He still lives in Wills Point, and he was a couple of years ahead of me. And he just sat down and worked with me one day. And until I got a drum set, I put books under my feet and just played in the air. And I think my parents got tired of watching me do that. That's why they bought the set. But other than that, I just played along with music.
That's very cool. It's a common way to do it too. And I remember playing along with my records. See, I'm showing my age really bad right now. Along with albums, or like if you had a favorite song and you would wait until you could record it on the radio on the cassette, and then you get that, and then you would play that, and you'd have to rewind it and play it over again. Thankfully, we don't have to do that anymore. But it's a great way to learn, and I think a lot of drummers out there would agree. And it's also a fun way to learn drums. So since I got here another female drummer on the show, I'll ask that question that everybody wants to know, and it seems like is a very common question to ask female drummers is, did you ever experience any, how would you word it? Not, I don't know if I would say sexism, but like, was there ever a time where you felt like you didn't get a gig, or that, any stories that relate to being a female drummer that might lend some insight on what that's like?
Yeah, there were times, like when I tried out for Chuck's band. I'm not sure what they thought when I showed up. They had their other drummer there that was on his way out, and he was watching me, and it was all guys, and as soon as I left, I thought, well, I'm not going to get that gig, and they liked me, and the rest is history. But yeah, I got comments, maybe not just from them, but from other people. They were very kind to me. They always treated me like a sister.
Yeah, I think what's cool is, I think in the time period that we grew up in, we were fortunate enough to where it wasn't like horrible. I think some people may have had it worse than us. I don't know, but I always felt very accepted among the male players out there. I've always played with men. I started out playing with my brother, was the first band I was in, and his friend. And then in high school, right after high school, I played with all guys. Like, I've only been in, I was in one all-female band, and I was in one band with a female singer. And other than that, I've played with 30 or more bands, and that's really been it. There's just so many more men out there on the music scene, especially in rock, that wasn't really as many opportunities to play with female vocalists, but it's been or musicians of any type. But it's been really cool to connect with other female musicians and drummers and out in the local Dallas music scene. So very cool. Do you have any bands or anything coming up that you want to tell people about? We have people watching from all over, so somebody might be in the Louisiana area somewhere near you and want to come see you play.
Yeah, I'm playing with a group in Abbeville, Louisiana, on Mardi Gras Day, on that Tuesday at Riverfront that afternoon. I believe it's from 2 to 5.
A Mardi Gras gig is like the Super Bowl of gigs, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a holiday down here. I love it.
Yeah, it goes crazy over there in Louisiana, man. We can hear it from here in Texas and Dallas. Yeah. When it's Mardi Gras, we're like, keep it down over there, Louisiana.
Right, girl.
That's awesome. Well, I hope if we're able to have a drumathon in person again this year. Last year was online, but if we're able to have one in person, I hope that you'll be able to come in, or if not, maybe you could submit a drum solo and maybe be able to be one of the top fundraisers and participate in drumathon, and we get all of us female drummers together to raise some funds this year. So we'll definitely keep you posted about drumathon, and you keep us posted on you. I know that we'll be chatting more throughout Survivors Rock, a breast cancer contingent community over on our Facebook group page. Other people out there who are breast cancer survivors or know people that are breast cancer survivors, please pass along that link that our moderator has put in the chat there for Survivors Rock, a breast cancer contingent community. Invite them to join Mitzi and I and all the other rockers over in Survivors Rock hanging out. Mitzi, girl, I really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. It always goes by way too fast, but we filled a lot in a short amount of time and got a good introduction to you. So I'm just so happy you could make it here tonight, and I hope you can come back again in the future.
I'm honored. Thank you so much.
You bet, girl. You have a great evening.
You too.
Talk to you soon. All right, guys, that was Misty. She rocks, man. She's a rock star.